We are honored to be here with Mahsa Mohebali, Iranian writer and literature critic, 2 times winner of the Gold Shiri Foundation's Award and of the Press Critics' Best Novel Award. Congratulations. So, Mahsa, you travel around the world, but you always decided to return and remain in Tehran. How important is this city for you? What in Tehran inspires your writing?
Well, I think for a writer it's very important where she or he is living because there is an interaction between the writer and the city. You can't go out of Tehran and want to write about Tehran and if really you want to show the city as a character of your novel. For example, in the novel Don't Be Worried, I tried to the real character or protagonist of the novel is the city, not anybody else. Yes, we could see it. We could say that Shadi is the protagonist, but also the most important thing in the novel is city. So I go around the world a little, but I think if you want to really write something about the people who live in a city, you should live in that city. You can't go out. And it's very important, unfortunately, because Tehran is so beautiful, but also it's so uncomfortable because of the pollution, because of all the. It's not good for a writer. If you want to drive in Tehran, you became crazy after a while. Sure, you could be sure. But also, there is a kind of love and hate at the same time. I love Tehran, and also I hate it at the same time. I could not really say what. I miss it when I travel to other countries. I really enjoy when I was in, for example, Milan. The weather is great, the people are great. Or when I was in Paris, or even in America, in Iowa City, I feel very good because people are so nice. The weather is so nice, and you can feel that you are a human being. They respect you as a human being. But in Tehran, you are like just a wheel in a whole wheel that turned. You don't turn like other things that always go ahead. And so when you go into Tehran, you should be like it, just running. And it's not good for a writer because it's occupied all of your mind. There is no other place for other thing. It's just like a challenge with everything. But also when I came back to Tehran, and I think if you really want to, feel the city, you should be there. So if I have choice, I like to be there for 6 months or 9 months, go out, get a little rest, and then write, and then come back to, observe everything, and then go back. But it's impossible because government don't like that people, actually writers, go out and go back, because when you go out, you don't put on veil, you do a lot of things, then you have a picture there. Then you come back and they have to accept you as a writer or as just a person who lives in the city. And they prefer if you stay just in Iran or just go out. Not going back, going back. It's not acceptable. And there are a lot of pressure on writers who do this.
Did you have any problems with the government?
Actually, yes, I have. Sometimes they ask for some questions, and also they start to kind of don't see you, like you are invisible. They pretend that you are not in Iran. They don't invite you for any, happening that's happened in Tehran, for example, book launch, anything, and also ban your books. So you're not here. All people think that I'm not in Iran. They think that, okay, she is out. They pretend that I'm not in Iran, and they about 12 or 30 years ago, they asked me to come by and they talked to me. They asked a lot of questions, but I was so rough with them and say, I'm not gonna work with you, I'm not gonna be with you or something like that. And I think they are enough, intellectual that understand that who is the person that. So she's not the kind of people who work with us. So they just ignore me, and it's good enough for me.
Okay.
But unfortunately, my works didn't published in Iran at all. My last work, even none of the publishers send this to the Ministry of Culture. Imagine. I just asked them to send it to Ministry of Culture, and if they censor it, and the publisher said, "Oh, it's out of the, lines," and so I decided to publish it in Afghanistan. And I published my last novel in Afghanistan because they don't have censorship yet, and I hope they are not gonna have it.
But don't be worried, it's not censored here in Tehran, in Iran in general.
Actually, they sent me 1,000 copy from Afghanistan to Tehran, so I could sell these copies underground, under table. Yes. I sold 1,000 copies of it, and also it's gonna published in Italy. So I'm happy. Actually, I mean, at least I could give my work, send my work to the audience, the complete work, not censored one. So I'm happy of it. But in the mainstream of the literature of Iran, I'm out of it.
Thank you. About Don't Worry is one of the award-winning books. The story deals with drug addiction among young in Tehran. The book has been a great success in Iran and outside your country. Do you think young people need more literature that speaks about them?
Yes, of course, they need more literature to talk about them, or I believe, but there is a gap. Most of young people think that literature is something belong to middle-aged people or old people, because after revolution, there are a lot of bans for, there are a lot of red lines for young people. You could not dance, you could not sing, you could not play instruments, or if you do that, you could not do it in the streets. There are two lives: one life in-house, another out, out,
Yeah, like public life.
public life. Yes. So all people have this double life, and this is two completely two lifestyle, two different lifestyle. And I think young people believe that they can't talk about the the home lifestyle. So it means that most of the young people believe that all the literature which write is kind of not realistic one. It's just a face that make for just show to other that we are like this. But if you really want to show that internal, I mean in the heart, the believing that young people have really inside, they couldn't see it in literature. For example, opium and addiction. It's very important thing that all young people, a lot of people, young people, involved with it, and they are not talk about it with their parents. It's kind of code. They talk with code with each other. For example, they use a lot of words for opium instead of marijuana. For example, we called marijuana cheese.
Oh,
So, for example, two young people say, "Do you have cheese?" "Yes, I have a little cheese. If you want, I can bring a little cheese for you." "So, thank you." So, if anybody even listen to your talking, don't understand anything, and a lot of code for opium, for any other things. So there is another language even for it. So I start to write with this language. So at first, middle-aged people, when read my novel, tell me, "What's the meaning of it? What's the meaning of cheese?" And they don't understand it. And also, young people are very happy. Oh, it's one person finally writes something about us. And they start to read my novel. And, teenage people are very excited about it. At least one person start to say that we are here, we exist, because literature just ignored them. But at the same time, middle-aged people hate me. They called my novel that it's not literature because there are a lot of bad words in it. Literature is not supposed to have a lot of bad words in it. It is literature, So if you go around literature, you should be very polite, very, So when you use a lot of bad words, F words, a lot of these things, so it's not literature, and they call, "No, Mahsa Mohebali don't write literature, it's just kind of stuff." That's after that, I could see a lot of young people start to write about themselves, about who they are, what they think, but not as as dirty as I am. I don't mean dirty. There are a lot of bad words in my book always, and I ashamed even when my mom opened my book and say, "What the fuck I'm gonna do in this night?" For example, what I'm gonna do in this fuck the hell night, for example. And my mother said, "Oh yes, it's literature. It's okay." But I'm kind of I could understand that my mom ashamed that this is not literature. You should be very, you know. But I'm happy that people start to do that, but not as as far as I go. Maybe I am too go a little too far.
Thank you. We were talking about your book, Don't Worry, and so about this earthquake and about this story, which is kind of fantastic fantasy.
Kind of earthquake that's really nothing broke, or for example, even a glass, nothing broke in all this big earthquake that come to in Tehran. But always I have in this idea in my head that if something like that happened to Tehran, it would like a catastrophe, because in Tehran we don't have, really any capacity to help people and organize things. So people start panicking, and it's not stop. Even earthquake stop, people don't stop panicking. So it's like a kind of catastrophe keep going, and people do a lot of crazy things. And in this situation, the protagonist of the novel, Shadi, it means joy. She just she's worried about her opium because she's addicted, and she just worried that if she can find her dealers or not in this situation. And he moved all the city, he go around the city to find a dealer. And all the dealers are disappeared, and she's kind of disappointed. And this is the summary of the story, that she's disappointed, and she doesn't really care about the earthquake. She doesn't care about all the city, because she's kind of in a dope, and she just thinks that it's okay if just the wood or kind of cement or a part of city just come to his head, and she just fell down or die. It's okay if she was high. If she was high at that moment, it would be okay. So she just tried to find dope and die in a way.
It's very interesting talking about this kind of reality. Can you say something more about that?
So you asked me how it comes to my head.
Yeah.
So always I have this idea that in Tehran it's like a ball full of something, that if you just point it like a little snap, and it could be up down, because it's completely over. I remembered in I think 1997, yes, there is a pre-world football games, and there is a match between Iran and Australia, if you remember. and it's a big opportunity for Iran to can go to the World Championship. And when Iran won that play, all the people came to streets and start dancing, and so in Iran dancing in the streets are forbidden. And start women with men are dancing and singing, and they don't care about the police and posters and all the government's rules and red lines. And if they want to stop, it's completely they couldn't do anything. They even go upside down a lot of van of police, and they are just like, okay, they couldn't shoot people because they are happy. It's impossible. They won the play. They want to be happy. They want to be show their feeling. And I remember that day my father told me, imagine this energy is it's come by happiness, and the government could not control these people. If these people come out of house for angriness, what's gonna happen? So on this day, I just feeling the power of the people, how much it could be really, you know, impress and could do a big thing, because we are a lot. We are 70 million people. So if they really want one thing and want to go out for something, like a just a match, a football match, it's happened like something that you couldn't control it. And because of censorship and a lot of these things, I just imagine a situation that is not politic, but people come out, and I just imagine that what can a government do in this situation? Could they control this situation, and what can people do? And also, I want to show this situation in a point of view of a very special person, such an addicted dog girl that don't care about anything, just dope. So it makes kind of paradox that all the people, they care about their lives. They want to be safe. They want to leave Tehran, because this happens just in Tehran. Every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, there is a little earthquake. It's not a big earthquake. It's just a little earthquake every 5 minutes. So people just panic and start to leave the city. But Tehran is so big. There are a lot of people. About 14 million people lives in day in Tehran, and about 10 million people in the night, or 8. Nobody knows really. It's like a question. Nobody knows that. So this panic, the ways that you could get out of Tehran is very narrow. So it makes like a big population wants to get out of the city, and it's like catastrophe. And they start to beat each other. They start to, like jungle. Nobody even behave. And this is the kind of reality of the people. They are not nice even more. And there are some young people have this idea that this is good. Let's people who are scared and don't have ball They just left the city and left the city for us that really enjoy of Tehran. We love Tehran, but without people who lived in Tehran. So if all this is just an idea that if old people all left Tehran and just left it for us, and all governments left Tehran, and they just left Tehran for us, so young people could come out and laugh and dance and drink and have dope and just have a ceremony to getting back the city for themselves. This is, of course, a fantasy, but it's a beautiful fantasy. Yes, I have this idea.
So, Mahsa, you are also expert in music. Could you tell me what is for you the relation between the words and the music, and how you use this relation in your writing?
Actually, yes, there is something, but uh, if I want to be really, you know, in music, the most important thing is form, the form. For example, the form of sonata. Always you have this form that you have the theme A, then B, then C, for example. And then this is the exposition. Then you have a development part. So A became to A prime, A second, and B prime, and they develop these three idea or these three ten, and then in re-exposition you get back to it. So in music, because you know you can't see the form, you just listen, you don't understand what's happened on it, but you enjoy because of this idea of repetition, and also change and repeat. You have an idea, you change it and then repeat it, so the listener feel oh, this is familiar to me. Oh no, let's go a little further. Oh no, this is familiar, but this is completely on the form. For example, a person who didn't know the music but could enjoy it without the knowledge of it. I always believe that if you could bring a form from one area of the artist's art to another area, it could be, some achievement. For example, if you bring the idea of postmodernism in architecture, when they have this idea that after World War II, if they want to just rebuild the whole thing that collapsed like before war, so the people which come after World War, they couldn't really understand what's happened to this place. But if you remake it with new, instruments, for example, glasses and iron, a wall which part of it it's old, part of it it's new, and it showed the history that's go on in this place. So if you want to understand or teach postmodern or understand postmodern in literature, if you think about the meaning of postmodern comes from where, so you could understand it in music or literature better. I have this idea, if you understand the form in music and you make it completely not in conscious, but in unconscious part of your brain. So you could do it without thinking about it. But when you go out and look at, for example, you look at it with a perspective, you could find a form of sonata in a novel, or you could find a form of theme variation in other novel. I mean, if you were enough brave to don't scare about bringing things from one art to other art, you can really use it, and it would be something. For me, I think it's happened completely un. In my unconscious it happens, but after that I could see it in my works, and I think it's very good. But not like, okay, because I studied music, I have kind of music in my voice. It doesn't mean that. You know, it's just about form, I think, and it's really helped me.
You could wish to us, what do you wish to us for this big journey?
It's very interesting for me, and I have a lot of question of you because it's very. I really want to be with you, and because always there is this curious about the other writers of the other countries, for example, in Mongolia, or I don't know, Afghanistan or Turkey or other countries that you were. I think it's a very awesome project.